Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 10th, 2021 at approximately 12:41 p.m. PST. Now, I do apologize, and I really don't have to, but that's beside the point, that's me. The last couple of days have been just nuts, what with memories coming back and what have you, of things I've been through. Had to deal with that. My life just gets a little screwy on occasion. Especially when you realize that because I remember past life memories, I remember many of my past lives. I'm in the process of documenting a lot of them. But the one that caused the problem was one of the most prolific, not prolific, one of the most impactful from back during the end of the Roman Empire. I'm not going to go into that right now. The point being, it threw me for enough of a loop and occupied enough of my time trying to sort things around that the last couple of days I didn't actually get the opportunity to actually get back to I wasn't in the right frame of mind to get back on board here. So, with that in mind, it's not perfect, but I did find a way to cut down on the glare from behind me here. Okay, and again, I just work with what I got. And I don't have a lot of money. I just simply know how to see where it's coming from. Okay, and again, we still have this nice little sheet that I keep handy with a bunch of tasks that I've got to deal with. Some of which I've dealt with, actually most of them I've dealt with that are on that list already. So this morning I've got what? I've actually got 8 out of 9 already done today, and I'll be adding more while I'm sitting here. Okay, again, understand, this is a live recording. So what you're seeing, I don't go back and edit any of it. Any hiccups I make, and sometimes literally, any complications that I have, it goes up the way it comes out. Okay. I do make certain I double check to make sure I got the date right. If I didn't get the date right at the beginning, then what ends up happening is I re-record the whole thing, which means you don't get the same thing. Like, none of this, in case you hadn't figured out by the way I jump around on occasion, none of this is actually rehearsed. It's not pre-planned. This is just what comes up. So, where do we go from here? Now, I've talked about at length the idea of how energy works and how things happen. Okay, whether we're talking your personal life, your spiritual life, or your business life, it doesn't matter. This all applies to all of them. Okay, and the reality is when we're looking at success, the only person on the planet that can be successful for you is you, your effort, your work. Absolutely turn to the people around you in order to find ways to get things to happen. For whatever reason, I've never been able to wrap my brain around mechanics. Okay, I'm one of these weird males that go, I know where the oil cap is, I figure I'm ahead of the game. For the most part, I know where my gas tank is, and that's how that ends. But the trick is to know what you're capable of, push your limits to a degree, but remember to ask for help when it's required. Okay, don't make the mistake of going, I have to be completely independent. There's an old saying that goes, no man is an island unto themselves. Meaning, you're not in this alone. The whole idea of turning society around is going to be, working together. Now, I love the way that it was put on. I was actually on Facebook this morning and looked at a post. And I like the way that they laid it out. Okay, and something I've held for a long time. People get into trouble. They get into drugs, they get into alcohol, they get into fights, they get into arguments with people because they are bored. Okay, it's not a question of having technological toys. Obviously, I used one, and you wouldn't be seeing this today. Okay, but you have to find a way to bring a balance. And it is the responsibility of those in positions of control, in positions of power. And by the way, for those of you that are parents, you're the ones in the position of power. You've got to remember over your own household, over your own kids. It may not seem like it at times because rest assured, other people know how to push buttons. But karmic law says you must follow the laws of the land in which you are. Okay, sometimes, especially where it comes to kids, employees, sometimes you have to lay down a guideline and go, here it is, here's the schedule, and then you have to take the time to step up and go, okay, let's enforce the fact that they're on it. Okay, again, life has to be balanced. Work, personal life, interpersonal life, and sleep. Now, I recommend you balance this out over the course of a week-long period. The primary reason for balancing it out over the week and not over the day is because the sad reality is very few people, thankfully, work 7 days a week. Working 7 days a week is, by the way, really on the whole unhealthy. Now, there's one job where you're going to work 7 days a week, whether or not it's unhealthy. If you're a parent, okay, or if you're a caregiver for somebody that needs 24/7 help, you're working 24/7. But you still have to find a way to take a break for you. Okay, but it is up to you to make that happen. Okay, the people around you can, like, I can sit here and I can tell you, you've got to take a break for you. Okay, I was talking to one gentleman. He was working full time, and he claimed his other half was not. She was at home raising her kids. So I'll tell you what, I don't care how busy you were during the day. When you get home, pick up the munchkin. Like the one in particular had a child in arms, but this applies across the board. And I told him, I says, when you get home, pick your munchkin up, okay, and tell your wife or tell your husband, go and take a break. If that means go and take an hour's bath, let them. They've been working just as hard, and trust me on this one, if you've got kids, you know it is not an easy run. Okay, you give her that hour and let her just say, even if she just wants to sit and watch TV, give her that hour to do so. You will be extremely happy with the outcome, in all likelihood. Okay, now of course, if you're lucky, you've got a partner that looks at you and goes, no, I don't need a break. Do your best to enforce it. Okay, kind of a necessary thing. Doesn't matter what you're doing, everybody needs a break. Now, when we're talking about making your life successful, again, far easier to determine the things you're not content with than to find the things that you are content with. Okay, as far as the ones that you think you may be happy with down the road. Which brings us back to this issue of, do you have to have your life in order by the time you're 20? Not a snowball's prayer. My experience with in excess of 80,000 clients tells me point blank that the massive majority of adults don't have a clue what they want to do when they grow up until they're in their mid-40s to early 50s. Okay, and to that definition, I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. I was in my mid-50s, almost my late ones, really. Okay. But the reality is, once you get an idea where you'd like to go, now you've got a goal. For the moment, let's start with the obvious. Take a look at what is right around you right now. Doesn't matter what it is. It may just be a little bit of stuff on the shelf beside you that needs to be moved. Mark it down on that little sheet of paper. Okay, while you're watching this, just write that down that's got to be dealt with. Okay, then find a second thing and a third thing. Stop at the 3, that's fine. Keep them to 15-minute to half-hour jobs. Okay, when you get one done, check it off and mark off a third one and write down a third one at the bottom again. Okay, very, very necessary if you're going to get your life in order. See, and like I said, I was going to be writing down things as I go along because there's a number of things I've got to get to. But as you get your life organized, you'll find you feel better once the energy in your home is running more smoothly. And I've talked about feng shui before, Western style feng shui. Okay, go back and look at one of the past videos that I've done, just in the last couple, 3 weeks here. Well, in all fairness, likely in the last week-ish. But I can't tell you which one. If I recall correctly, though, in the description of the video, I did mention feng shui. Okay, when you get the energy in your house running properly, you'll feel far more relaxed. Your stress level will drop, which ought to be entertaining for some of you. Your ability to rest when you're sleeping will climb, and you'll be better suited to deal with the normal stresses out there of your own job and dealing with other people. These are just some of the side effects. Now think of it this way. If we take a restaurant, for example, if you're more relaxed yourself and you just, let's say you work in an office or anywhere, okay, and you're going out to a restaurant, if you're relaxed, when you go out to the restaurant, you'll be better able to deal with the stresses in that restaurant. Let's say the food's a little later than what you would have liked, okay, but if you're relaxed, you won't take it out on the waitress. Okay, net result, she'll have a better day at work. And if she has, or he, if they have a better day at work, when they go home, they won't be as stressed out. Net result, their family runs smoother. Okay, you see how this becomes a cascade success? Straighten your life out, it will have an automatic impact on the people around you. Now, even where it comes, now that applies, that's where work is concerned. Where home is concerned, same idea. Put the rules in place to make your home run smoothly. Now, yes, it may get a little bumpy to start with, but to see how energy works from that bumpy perspective, take a bucket of water. Okay, fill a gallon bucket of water. Leave a lot of room for maneuvering. Take a spoon, put it in the bucket, and spin it around. Get it spinning so you get a little bit of a vortex in the middle of the water. Okay, now you'll notice the water's all running smoothly. But as soon as you stop it and go the other way, you'll see absolute chaos in the water. But if you continue going through the chaos, you actually will find that the water turns completely around and runs smoothly again. Give this experiment a test. See for yourself. Like I've said before, don't just take my word for it. If you're going to change the way energy is going, you cannot stop it from moving, but you can guide what direction it goes on. Okay, now if we go into the religious side of things, okay, if you're leading a religious group, if you're a pastor, a minister, a rabbi, I don't know all the different terms. Priest, bishop, doesn't matter. If you're leading a congregation, even as a matron mother in a witch's coven, okay, if you're leading them and you're talking about fearing whatever, what you're doing is setting your congregation up for a problem. Okay, you're setting things up so there will be stress in your environment. Okay, and I'll tell you, if you're trying to make your congregation work well together, telling them to fear everything around them is not going to help. Okay, on the other hand, if you're trying to put yourself on a pedestal, that may work quite nicely. The fact of the matter is, the last place I ever wanted to be was on some sort of a pedestal. And these videos were not in my agenda. I was asked by a number of people to get the information, to get the insights onto the paper, on the video so people could see them. Okay. Now, it started out in a very simple fashion, but the reality is, I was talking to one chap, because I told him, I said, look, the last thing I want to be is put on a pedestal. This whole term that some people use, YouTuber, or I don't know what the term is, what I'm doing. Some people say it's a YouTuber, some people say it's a vlog. I don't know. I'm just me. But William Shakespeare put it really succinctly when he said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Okay? Taking that into consideration, call what I do whatever you will. I'm just as ornery, I'm just as stubborn, I'm just as outspoken. Okay, it won't matter what I'm called. People have said, well, what's your name? Well, my name's pretty simple. I tell it at the beginning of every video. But it's like I tell people, I've been called so many things over the years, it really doesn't matter. Call me what you will, but, the reality is, you know, like I've been called a lot of things, and some of them are repeatable in polite company. Okay, and the best one the best way I like putting it is when people ask me, well, who do you think you are? Well, aside from my birth certificate, I just look at them and go, the question isn't who I think I am. The question is, who do you think I am? Okay, and that applies to everybody. Who you think you are personally only becomes a problem if you personally put yourself on a pedestal and go, I'm better than other people for whatever reason. Okay. The reality is I'm better at some things than some people. Okay, but I am by no means the top of the totem pole. I am not, on the whole, in my opinion, I'm not better than anybody. Okay, I do have some skills that I can do better. Okay, like for instance, and I've got to get back to it, I used to be able to write really well with my left hand. But after the stroke, that kind of went the way of the dodo bird, so now I got to get that sorted out. Okay, now the other thing we have to look at here is when we start looking at society on the whole, okay, we get society turned around, we get the stress level brought down, and suddenly we've got a neat little problem. People aren't shooting at each other, they aren't beating each other with baseball bats, and they're not swearing at each other as they drive down the road. Now what do? You don't have anything to complain about. Well, we've got the weather. I like the way a senior put it one day. He goes, it's a good thing we have the weather. I says, well, I agree, but what's your take on it? He says, well, just think about it. If it weren't for the weather, 90% of people wouldn't say 2 words to each other. We looked at him and went, point. Because it doesn't matter whether it's raining or it's sunny. Nobody seems to get in any real argument over whether or not they've got the right idea. So, people that like the rain get along with people that like the sun, and they don't go, oh, you shouldn't like the rain. Of course, I grew up on Vancouver Island, so rain you just kind of got used to it. I keep telling people I'm half duck. Okay. But it is up to you to decide what you're not content with in your life. Okay, I mentioned I was not content with the glare coming off that window behind me. Well, I found, as you can see, a black curtain that does block it out. Didn't do a thing for the headlight for the light overhead, but I am not a videographer. This much is clear. Okay. But what I have done is improvise so that I can make things happen. And I will continue doing so, making modifications. I just today, literally, before I did this, and before I got sitting down to this video, cleared my entire desk off again so that I actually could work with it, which is kind of necessary. Don't want to stand up, so I'm not standing up yet. Anyway, the reality of life is this. When you desire your life to change for you, pick the things you're not content with. Those are the ones that are best changed. Because if you're content with it, changing it doesn't make sense. The old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, well, that's very much the case. When you look at the way your life is, find what you're not content with and start changing that. If you don't know how to go about changing it, there is a list of contact points below this video that will tell you exactly how to go, that will tell you how to get a hold of me, and I'll be more than happy to point out how you can make a change. Okay, they're right above that, above those contact lists is a list of different publications that I've taken the insights that I've got, put them into a book form, and I'm the only one you can order them through. Okay, it's just that simple. But reach out to me below at any one of the contact points. I'll be more than happy to answer your question. I'll be more than happy to, and most of the time I get back to the person involved. Once in a while an idea comes up that I will end up doing a video for. Okay, but that said, I'm still going to give a response if at all possible. And right now it's not a big problem. I don't get that many emails. Okay, I think I'm sitting at 107 followers, subscribers on YouTube. Which brings us to the other point. Give us a thumbs up, please. Subscribe to our channel, because there's a lot of information and we're just getting back into a role here. As you can tell, I've said that before, that we're getting into a role. Well, in case you hadn't noticed, that role does this sort of thing. Some days it goes really well, some days we get sidetracked. Okay, because our life is anything but simplistic. Fortunately, I've got a few people around me that really help stabilize that on the, for the most part. But as you get your life turned around, like I said, you get your life running smoothly, so your stress level drops. When you go out to a restaurant, you go out to deal with your mechanic, your accountant, your lawyer, whatever. Okay, if you're more relaxed around the home, you'll be better equipped to deal with these other people without creating a problem for yourself. Okay. Net result, their day will go better, and when they get home, their families won't have as much stress to deal with either. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I know I reached out to a number of people the other day. Like I've been reaching out to people via video for months now. Okay, and yes, I have ended up making some miscalculations. So I think I've now missed either 3 or 4 days, and it's not really relevant. Aside from I don't like missing days. But life doesn't always cooperate. Okay, so as you get your life straightened out, just remember, reach out to the people around you. You don't have to get really close to them. A simple wave to somebody standing on a balcony when you're walking down the street is enough to help people feel like they're not just a number on the wall. Okay, very important that people start reaching out to each other, start connecting with people. Okay, and I mean connecting in a way that is mutually beneficial. Uh-oh, gonna have to pause this. Well, wasn't expecting that, but fortunately, I figured out how pause works. I don't know if the racket came through, but there was a pile of racket outside my door. I've got my window open. And what I didn't know is if it was the sprinkler system kicking in, which would have put the water coming in right on top of my other computer. Not a fun thing. Okay, it may have been a grocery cart, I don't know. I happen to live on the first floor of an apartment building. Okay, but when you're dealing with people, like I said, reach out to them. Simply waving to somebody can make them feel a little bit more connected. Okay, smiling at somebody as you walk by them works out really nicely. Okay, and all of a sudden these people will start feeling like, hey, I'm not an invisible cog in the wheel. Okay, and rest assured, there are many people that literally look at their life and go, is this all that I've got? Is this all that I am? Just somebody that works day and night to put somebody else into the millionaire seat? Because I've long held that the people that work the hardest are seldom the people that make the money. Okay, oddly enough, I found a way around that, but that's for a different day. Okay, ultimately, you have to take a look at where your life is. Well, I shouldn't say have to, it's your choice. But if you're not content with the way your life is, if there's one aspect of your life you're not happy with, okay, then do something about it. Make a change. It doesn't matter what you change it to. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at my picture in the video here, and I really probably should have combed my hair, a little bit better. Well, I combed it this morning, then went for a walk, and I went for a walk outside, and look what we get. Okay, but the reality is, like I said, this is a live video, meaning I don't change anything, I don't edit anything. That situation you see over my shoulder, that is the way my life is. Okay, if you run into me on the street and you're talking to me, I'll do exactly the same thing. So let's get down to the reality of it. You run your life, okay, And contrary to popular belief, especially now, most of the people that watch these videos, quite frankly, according to YouTube, are somewhere between 25 and 40. Okay, most of the time that means you've got kids or you've got a career, and quite often both. Okay, but rest assured, if you've got teenagers, and if you've got teenagers that are just getting into their mid-runs, okay, into, the anywhere from 14 to 16 years old, they are doing their best to figure their footing out. And much as they need your guidance, they also need the freedom to make some mistakes without getting hung out to dry. Okay, and that's where your input can come in. And sometimes you may have to put down guidelines that they're not happy with. So explain the guidelines to them, tell them why you're doing it, and let them know that when this gets straightened out, then you can talk about them getting something else. Because many kids will push for the idea of, I want more freedom, but they have no idea what that freedom costs. Talk to anybody in the military that has ended up going to war. Okay, rest assured, war has never brought peace. War brings quiet. However, my hat's off to the military right off the bat. Okay, because it's not the soldiers that create a lot of the problems. I mean, there are some, don't get me wrong. Okay, but on the whole, the fact of the military, I'm 100% behind. The policies of some militaries, I question rather vehemently, but that's me personally. See, in one sense, some people would say I was lucky, others would say I didn't get to do my, my duty, as it were. Even if I'd have wanted to go to the military, they wouldn't take me. Something to do with me being epileptic and them having automatic weapons. Okay, but this does not mean I do not respect what the military does. However, every person on the planet, every one of you, no matter what your age, no matter what your income bracket, no matter your gender, every single one of you plays the part of a politician, of a soldier, of a medic, of a teacher, of a spiritual guide. You get the picture? And there's not a soul on the planet that I'm aware of that is not a child. Okay, and the reason I say that is whether you were born in a test tube or you were born naturally, as it were. Okay, you're still somebody out there, whether they know who you are or not, doesn't matter. One of the people out there, okay, is your father, one is your mother. Doesn't matter if you know them, you're still a child. I mentioned to one chap, and he was all of 18 years old. And I made the mistake, and I'll use the term a little loosely because I didn't have a problem with it. And I made the mistake of calling him kiddo. Well, boy, did he get mad. I'm not a kid. And I looked at him and I said, really? You've got parents, don't you? Well, yeah. Then you're a kid. Okay, it's just that simple. But it's time for everybody to put their differences aside. And yes, that's a massive order. And it's not going to take place overnight. But it is time for everybody to put their differences, to put their fears aside, and start working together to make this a better world for everybody. Okay, now I will be back again tomorrow, but for the time being, I'm going to leave it at this point. So like I said, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. You can find a contact number for me anywhere in a lot of different points below this video, as well as a list of publications I've already got in print that can only be ordered through me. And one last little note. The first Friday of every month, I am on Spaced Out Radio on the internet, spacedoutradio.com, talking about aliens, UFOs, technologies, and their cultures. Okay, so join me there as well. But until we talk again, which is tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.